Don Thompson. I am the factotum over here at Posse, and today we are going to continue our ongoing series called Meet the Posse. And basically, we sit down and talk to artists within our agency and let fans get to know about them. In the past, we've done all written interviews, but today we are going to be graced by the presence of Orlando Arocena over on the East Coast, who agreed to graciously talk with us as he preps for his trip to San Francisco with Adobe. Orlando, how's it going?
Awesome. What's going on, brother man? How you doing?
Well, I'm not shoveling snow like you, so it's actually going quite well. I'm out here in Phoenix, Arizona.
I hate you. Anyway, no, it's cool over here. Thank you so much for inviting me to chat with you and the rest of our group out there.
Absolutely. So basically, much like our written interviews, we'll just ask you a couple questions and let fans get to know what you're all about and kind of how you became associated with us. So, how did you learn about the Posse and become a member?
That was kind of a weird way of how I became a member to the group. It was obviously I was doing a lot of work, posting up a lot of kind of poster tributes on my own, and one of our buddies, Paul Ainsworth, reached out and he was totally like, "Hey, you know what? Love your work. Have you heard of the Posse?" And at that point, I didn't follow the Posse as much, to be honest with you. And I guess Paul's the guy who put in the good word for me, who got into you, and the rest is kind of history, you know. So from this moment on, it's, you know, I've always got kind of a tender spot for Mr. Paul Ainsworth, our Canadian brother, to be like, you know, hey, I totally owe you a big one, dude, you know. So
okay. So Orlando, you know, it's been a couple years now. What was the first project you did with us?
Whew, it's been a while, hasn't it? First project I did with you guys, I would tend to think that it was probably one of the two, between either Captain America Winter Soldier or Godzilla.
Yeah, I forget the timeline on that, but yeah, that's right. You're right. I can remember both pieces. So you've been in the art world for quite some time now, and why don't you tell us about where you went to school and how things started for you after school?
Well, school, the way that I got involved in the art world was kind of weird, you know, to be honest with you, growing up in the Bronx, and not having that much of a creative, you know, family structure to support me and be able to have at least like a guide point of influence to say, hey, you know what, my uncle's an artist, I could get some info from that, inspiration and influence. No, you know, for me it was all, you know, comic books and, you know, waking up super early before school to catch all the really cool Japanese anime that was being aired on TV, you know?
Yep.
G-Force and
Star Blazers,
and then later
Voltron,
on you got Jason the Wheeled Warriors.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so that played a lot of influence, inspiration to me. But back in high school, I was being sent down routinely down to the principal's office because I was taking great notes, and I was that kind of student that, you know, you open up his notebook and I had like diagrams like for biology in 3 different inks just to call out, you know, here's something blue, here's something red. So I was really, you know, passing all my grades. It's just that I wasn't just looking up and paying the teacher that much confidence and respect. So the principal was like, you know what? You got to go to the guidance counselor. Something's wrong with you. And the guidance counselor is honestly like, you know, what do you want to do? And I was like, hey, truth, I don't know, man. You know, Top Gun just came out. I'm pretty love it. That kind of scenario. I think I want to go like 3 times the speed of sound and drop bombs on me.
Iceman.
You know, Iceman. But no, my guidance counselor at the time basically was like, let me get any of your notebooks and open it up. And from that moment on, he was like, hey, you know, you should consider something within the creative field. And from there on, I went to Pratt Institute in Brooklyn from 90 to 94, and that was really, really opened up the floodgates Um, yeah, it was really interesting. It was an age before supercomputers in our pockets, and the age before the interwebs. And the curriculum at school only had maybe 2 Mac Quadras for the whole damn,
Oh,
facility. So I really graduated with a degree in communication arts, um, commercial communication arts, and that being computer literate.
okay.
And when I graduated, there was a lot of pressure from the family to be like, hey, where's our return on investment? You know what I mean? Like, you should be able to get out there and get like, a 5-figure job or a 6-figure job, whatever it is. And I'm like, yeah, no. I was going to job interviews with like this 9x12 like little black case of like, all my prints, and people are like, do you know the computer? And I'm like, no. So
Right.
I'm really big into strategy, and what I ended up doing was that I coordinated and say, hey, listen, you know what? How do I get into that field and invest in myself as far as like getting the right computer and the right gear? So what I ended up doing was that I took several jobs that were kind of parallel to what I considered, what I wanted to do. I took a job as a floor staff retailer guy over at the Warner Brothers Studio store, flagship store in 57th Street. I was like one of those guys that's like, hey, welcome to the Warner Brothers Studio store. Hey, how you doing? Welcome. And gradually I found out that there was an interest within kind of the production cells that they were showcasing occasionally, and I put in an interest in, hey, I'd like to be either a curator or somehow affiliated with that. So for the next year and a half, I was taking care of their animation galleries there, which sold original studio production cells and limited prints. And
Cool.
I had clients like Mark Hamill, who would come in occasionally and scare the bejesus out of me because he would just creep up and do the Joker's laugh and communicate that way and be totally interested in, I want every production cell from the Batman series with the Joker, so find me some, but it was cool, but exactly, it got me to meet up with a few people from the actual series over in San Francisco.
Yep.
And from there, I changed and went over to being a security guard over at the Met, at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, because I'm really big into fine art, and I really wanted to know more and wanted to be that close and get paid. And it was a great job. It's one of the best jobs that I recommend to college students that don't know, that can't get easily into the field to consider, because A, you keep on learning, B, you see all the shows that come in, you get to meet really interesting people from around the world that appreciate art and the city upon which that museum is located. And you normally have a really odd schedule that works to your creativity. Like my schedule was, I worked from Thursday to Sunday, but I had Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off.
There you go. Yeah.
I could go to gallery hops, I could go do whatever I wanted to do. But while at the Met, I was, I got to exhibit there, which is really cool.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, at their annual employee jewelry show.
Okay.
And
when was that? What year was that?
That was back in 95, 96. So
Okay.
That's already 2 years out from college and still not within the commercial sense. I was just saving up money. And the way I got into that show was as a security guard, you had to be drawing on, while you're, safeguarding all the original walls, but I'm there with one of my small pads in my pocket.
You always have that thing.
Well, I'm hoping to update it with the Wacom, but you're sketching. Well, anyway, I had this one particular gallery which I thought was all to myself, and I was sketching away. And the president of the museum, Mr. Montebello, walks in, and I hear this boom, boom, this clackety clack of this leather board, this deep breathing essence like Vader. I could just feel the energy enveloping the room, and I was like, oh, bam, here I go. So he turns around, he's like, what am I doing? Totally reprimanding me. Yeah, you're not supposed to be doing this. Blah, 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 blah. And I thought I was going to lose my job. What happened next was that he actually was interested in what I was drawing. And when he took a look at it, he was kind of surprised that all of the sketches that were in there are all ballpoint. And I told him about my philosophy about how I'd rather draw and sketch with something that you can't erase. You gotta, it's worked into my philosophy as far as like the way I view life. It's like, you gotta deal with your mistakes, and you gotta either turn a negative into a positive and ramble, play with that. And he was like, you know what? You know that we have an annual employee art show that's in an actual exhibition. And I was like, no, I didn't. And he was like, I want you to submit. And while I was there working for the 2 years, I submitted twice. So
wow.
That was pretty cool. Soon after that, I had saved up enough money, and I was doing enough group shows as far as paintings locally that I bought my first Mac. It was fast. It was 250 megahertz with a supercomputer. Wow! Amazing! But you're doing your minutes.
Your minutes. Keep going. I'm just having a snack.
You got, product placement, sponsorship. I understand. I got you. But you know what? From that moment on, I taught myself a computer, and I had an opportunity to submit my portfolio and get my first real design job for Troma Entertainment over in Hell's Kitchen in New York City with Lloyd Kaufman and Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, the good old days, as you call them.
Awesome rock and roll job, total punk rock. I mean, woo! God, there was no there were no holds barred, man.
Didn't Lloyd used to call you Trauma O?
Trauma O.
Trauma O.
Yeah. I was loud.
Hey, by the way, for anybody who didn't pick up on the fine art part of Orlando's conversation there, go check out his Behance page. He's way more than just pop culture. He has some fantastic pieces in there, abstract, erotica, all different kinds of great stuff that is totally separate from his pop culture stuff. So go check out his Behance page. What is your Behance page?
Behance.net/Orlando Arocena.
There you go. Go check it out. It's worth it. So you've done a ton of work. So do you have any favorite projects from over the years that you'd like to talk about?
Sorry, I was just playing around in Illustrator.
Never stop. Never stop.
Do I have any? Yeah, never stop, man. Never stop. Do I have any past projects that were really cool? Obviously, are we talking about just Posse specific? Or
no, like what's something that what's a project that stood out for you? Like, was it the New York Auto Show? Was it participating in Art Basel down in Miami? Like what?
Yeah, no, there's been quite a few that I look back upon. I'm like, wow, that was really cool. That was a great opportunity. I made a good connection, pushed myself. The auto show, doing, back-to-back promotions for that.
Yep.
Was awesome just because, I'm a fan of the auto show. I grew up in New York City. I grew up in the Bronx, and I remember being that kid going out to these shows, and lo and behold, to be commissioned to do the key signage for that was awesome, from more of like an appreciation from the inside fan. Moving forward from there, doing, a few exhibitions with the Fountain Art Group and the Lodge Gallery Republic in Miami Art Basel was kind of unique because, I saw the avenues for me to be able to bring kind of this commercial design application, this Adobe Illustrator, and utilize it in an unusual kind of format or venue. Being able to show work at Miami Art Basel is pretty cool. Moving forward from there, obviously being commissioned to do the Adobe Splash page was awesome.
That was massive.
That was fantastic. I couldn't believe it.
How long does something like that? So that's a big project. That's obviously a huge property that everybody. Has a global presence. So how long does that project take from start to finish? Like when they reach out to you till you give them the final image?
Man, it's wild. Everybody's a little bit different. You know, especially if it's a bigger project with a lot of different moving parts globally, from a brand marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
With Adobe, it was kind of unique. I got to meet the team when they were here for the Creative Cloud anniversary at Lincoln Center, and I was one of 40 artists that was commissioned to do a particular square that was then compiled into a larger mural.
Oh, very cool.
So I got to meet some of the folks there, and from that point on, I made a few friends and contacts, and I guess they did their homework, and they were kind of really fond of the work that I did with Vector.
Yeah.
And when they called me up, I remember they called me up on a Friday afternoon during the springtime, and they were asking if they were able to license a particular vector that I had up on my Behance page. Like, they're interested in an existing piece.
Right.
I was like, sure. But do you mind if I ask you how it's going to be used? Like, what's the usage, man? You know, that's one of the things I always ask.
Sure.
For. And they were like, yeah, we want to use this for the for Adobe Illustrator. And I was like, yeah, but to what capacity? And they're like, for the splash page. And I was like, splash page? Like the intro page. And I was like, yeah. Cue in having to change the pantalones and everything else.
Sure.
And I was like, whoa! And I was like, wait a second. I would, you know, not just their gift horse in the mouth, but I was like, you know, I put on my brand helmet on, and I was like, hey, listen, you know what? That's quite an honor. Thank you so much. But how much time do we have? And they're like, we need the artwork by Monday. And I was like, can I sell you on a different idea? Something that hasn't already been established, something that would work and coordinate with your brand personality or the personality of the application, you know, Illustrator. And they were like, hey, as long as you get it in by Monday. I was like, how about this? I'll get it to you within the next 4 hours.
There you go.
In a proposal, in a deck written up with rationale and insights. And they were like, dude, please don't rush it. They were really cool. And they were like, man, we'd like to see whether you can get it in. You know, we hear that you're fast. And I'm like, all right, listen, it's on. And by 6 o'clock that evening, I had everything put into a deck, and I had the first work in progress, which I had included the Venus de Malo within the neck.
Yeah.
And they were floored. They were loving it. I just overlooked one important thing, that this was going to be a global entity.
Right.
And when you're dealing with global entities, you're dealing with kind of different kind of ethics and backgrounds, religious standpoints, social, whatever.
Sure.
And they were kind of concerned that, you know, although it's paying the right tribute, right homage, but kind of it was a little too risque.
So they changed it up.
She was like, kind of have to do it. And she was like, hey, listen, they're like, listen, we love it. You just got to come up with a different idea to exchange by Monday. And I was like, you know what? I got it. And they're like, what? I already got it. I'll make the changes later on. I'll get you the artwork this weekend. And they're like, what are you going to do there? And I was like, well, she's pointing to her neck for a reason. She's paying tribute, you know, respect, homage, reverence. Instead of the Venus de Milo, how about she's pointing to the number one tool that you have to really find your way to even play in Adobe Illustrator, and that's the pen tool. And they were just like, go ahead, go do it, man.
Yep.
So the rest is history. But, you know, recently, since then, I've been trying to push and break Illustrator.
Testing its boundaries.
Yeah, along with the iMac that I work on.
Yeah.
You know, my Wacom's the only one that doesn't complain, which is a good thing. But, you know, for me, you know, Adobe Illustrator is like a video game, honestly. You know, it's like I never get tired of it. I keep on playing with it. And whether it's a personal project, whether it's a doodle, whether it's an actual project, you know, I'm always willing to try to push it. You know, a lot of my compositions are kind of crazy, but they weren't always crazy. Some of the inspirations come from Japanese woodblock prints to like A.M. Cassandra's type of Art Deco prints. You know, I'm very inspired by fine art and contemporary art as well. But, you know, I've had my artwork goes very minimal at times to very crazy. And recently, you know, the commission that we did with Sony Crackle for the Art of More.
Yeah, that was a fun project. Man,
that was a really fun project. And, you know, let alone I submitted about like 3 different ideas because I was trying to coordinate with the release of Ghostbusters. And I was like, and they're like, hey, we want you to do Da Vinci's Mona Lisa. And I'm like, how about we turn her into like Slimer? We could use it as a cross promotion for for the Ghostbusters.
Right.
Have a supersized Coke or something from Cinemark theaters.
Sure.
And like I was just trying to tie in so many different key brands
Yeah.
into that within kind of the whole culture of going to the movies, and they're just like, great idea, great thinking, but no, we just don't want that. We just want your spin. And thanks for jumping in on that whole project, because if I think it wasn't for you guys mentioning, hey, how about we just do what you normally do? Do one of your Day of the Dead, Dia de los Muertos, Sugar Skulls, and I was like, all right, no problem. And
so for me, that's one of my favorite projects of yours that we did for Marvel with the two Star-Lord and the Gamora prints that you did. Those are so good.
Dude, man, you remember how that started off, man?
Yeah. You go ahead. Why don't you mention it a little bit and talk about it for a second?
Dude, I was flying in. Was it for the first time? Or was that the second time? First time, I think.
Yeah, I think it was the first time.
I was flying in. I was doing Adobe Max, and it was that year that the splash page released.
Yep.
And I had some extra time to kill, so I flew over to the Posse HQ, which was awesome, and sat down on your living room floor,
right,
with your son Asher.
I know.
And just started sketching out Star-Lord.
Yep.
And then I was like, hey Don, you know what? We should try to do this for the Halloween Day of the Dead piece. And you're like, hey, keep on going. And the next thing you know, you're getting a phone call from Mr. Head Honcho over there at.
Well, it's funny. We showed them both pieces, and they were like, "Oh yeah." And you know what? Not only do we love them, but we have a perfect event for them. So that was kind of cool. We got to go to the studio for his Blu-ray DVD launch, James Gunn's Blu-ray launch, and then it was nice to go upstairs and meet him. He was very appreciative. That was a lot of fun.
Do you remember how much we were playing kind of hide and go seek within the audience? Because I was like, I don't want him to recognize me, man.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of fun meeting up with him, since both of us, his last year working at Troma was kind of my first year being. I didn't get a lot of FaceTime with him since he was
But there was some crossover at that time period.
Some crossover.
Yeah.
Pints, beers, nightings out. Really cool stuff. Cool guy. Awesome guy. James Gunn rocks. Big Troma.
The other thing I wanted to mention too is, for me, growing up, I used to love Mad Magazine. And the first thing I would do is I would do the fold over on the back cover.
Always, man.
And then the second thing I would do, which is another project that you did, and you remind me because I see it up in your back wall there, is I would always go look for Spy versus Spy.
Yeah.
You got to participate in that really cool book that's on the back of your wall. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Got totally invited to be a part of it. You want me to go get it real quick?
Yeah, grab it real quick. Let's take a look at it.
Man.
Those are the very first two things that I would do every single time with Mad Magazine.
Let's see. This sucker right here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's on here?
So you and a bunch of artists got asked to do this, right?
Yeah, no, I got called up. Jim Lee, Bob Stake, Rich Weber, Yoko Shimozu. Man, a whole bunch of cats.
So what was the brief?
Bill
What was
Sikowitz,
Oh yeah.
my favorites, man.
So what was the brief for that project?
The brief for that project was that they were coming up with an anniversary dedication. Wow. Yeah, I still got the letter here. They were coming up with an explosive celebration of the artwork. And they're like, hey, you know what? We want one of your crazy vectors, similar to what you just did for again, Guardians of the Galaxy. They're like, hey, we want something like that, but we don't want a Day of the Dead piece, but we want so, I'm like, all right, cool. So whipped up about 5 different ideas.
Okay.
Now, one of the ideas was a piece where they're both in their own kind of mecha big Gundam suits, and they're going at one another. And I thought that was a good idea.
Yep.
The other one was, more of a kind of Art Deco piece where, the contours of each figure, very angular noses and all that kind of were masqueraded within the context of the letters Spy versus Spy.
Yep.
And they came back and they're like, listen, man, we love you, we love your work, but come on, man, don't restrain yourself, dude. Like, let it all out. We want something crazy. And I'm like, oh man,
They want Arocena.
yeah, we want that Mexi funk spice. And I ended up doing that thing.
Yeah, that thing is awesome.
Ooh.
And that's totally representative of your work. I mean, that is, bold colors, the angles and everything is all there, and it looks, you can instantly recognize it as an Arocena.
Dude, I hated colors, man, growing up.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I was a black and white dude, man. Seriously. It wasn't until like, getting into doing my own little vector stuff on the side before I joined the Posse.
Yeah.
That I started, like, looking at color and going, wow, I think I'm kind of like holding myself back. An artist shouldn't be afraid of color.
Right.
It's just understanding the theory and how to play with those rules and then break them. It's just like anything else. It's like, you got to understand the rules before you could actually break them and then stand out in a very, positive way, instead of just, hey, haphazardly making up garbage and saying, well, whatever, man, it's my artistic statement. I'm allowed to do that.
Right. Okay.
But the Art of More piece, man, really, my machine was like crying, like, please stop. And I was like, no.
Keep going. More layers.
More.
We need more.
But since then, I've been putting in a lot more time into painting within Illustrator, using a combination of tools, gradients, shapes. I definitely don't use any third-party plugins or allow any quick keys. I'm kind of a diehard traditionalist. I consider myself just a painter that, within my art bin of preferred medium and tools, the computer is just another one.
Yeah.
Illustrator for me is literally like a video game. It's just like, hey, I gotta get past the boss on this stage, and
Sure.
There are certain rewards and wow moments that just come up.
Yep, absolutely. Another project that we collaborated on is when last year the Poster Posse got invited. Who was that?
No, keep on talking. No, I'm gonna drive you off, man. Come on.
Who was that?
That's one of my. Forget it. Just keep on going, dude.
Okay,
I do a lot of model building.
There you go. Okay. Last year we got to participate in a really fantastic collaboration with Acme Archives and Le Café Pixel over in Marseille, France. We did that officially licensed Star Wars exhibit. Unfortunately, I couldn't go to it, but I know you went. So what was your experience while you were there?
My experience while I was there, it was a mixed bag. It was both good and bad. Not good. I mean, it was excellent. It was an honor to be a part of that. Seriously, it was like a boy dreamhood, whatever.
Sure.
Come true for Star Wars. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. I was so jazzed, and it was going to be my first time going over to Paris and meeting up with some of my Poster Posse brothers, which was awesome. It was excellent. Shut up, you! Wherever it is. Sorry. Got the rest. That's not even something to joke about. I'm sorry.
No.
Marseille, Star Wars, France. Fantastic opportunity. Got to travel. Got to meet up with Sebastian and the crew at Le Café Pixel.
Yep.
Le Café Pixel? No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Got to meet up with the crew over at Le Café Pixel, and it was an awesome opportunity. I got to coordinate with you and him and the printers to make sure that the prints from were basically printed out to the utmost value. As far as the show was phenomenal. We did 2 different shows. We did one for the Hero Fest, which was kind of a small Comic-Con type of venue, which they developed this insane village walkthrough that separated the main exhibition hall, and got a time to. I didn't know when I got there, that I was going to be up on stage doing kind of a live
Hey, Orlando, come here. We want you to
I
speak to
still
all these
blame
people.
you and Sebastian for that because I remember getting there with Dolly and Simon Dillard and Danny Boy, and I remember Sebastian going, "Hey, you know what? You saw that stage that you walked by on your way in?" I'm like, "Yeah." They're like, "You go up there in 2 hours." And I'm like, I was like, "Yeah, whatever, man." I thought he was pulling my leg. I was like, "Yeah, whatever."
Was it one of those things like he spoke to the group with you and Dolly and Daniel Nash and said, "Hey guys, I need someone to speak," and all the other guys just kind of pushed you in front? And said,
No, not at all. I wish it was because it would be like totally. I would push one of them ahead of me. I'd be like, "Hey, you're going." But hey, I convinced him that I was like, "Hey, if I'm going to do that, then let's do the whole group. Let's find a way to get the whole group up on stage, either soon after or the day after." And that's exactly what we did. It was fantastic. And a month later, we actually had the bigger venue over at that museum gallery in Marseille.
Yep.
Right by the Bouport, which is a phenomenal place. Again, got to meet up with my brothers, and it was quite an honor to be a part of it.
Yeah, like Cafe Pixel really put on a great event. I mean, it just looked.
They took care of us.
Fantastic.
They took care of us while we were there. Sebastian and his crew were fantastic. I wish that we could do something more further down the line, and there's somebody out there running around in Marseille, France with my sketchbooks, my backpack, and about 8 different Poste Posse t-shirts that I was going to unload upon the group as a thank you gesture, but it's okay. Since then, I've been back to Paris or France about, 6 times that year?
Yeah, I know. Okay. I'm sure you get asked this a lot, but is there any advice you can give to some kids who are just coming out of Pratt or their art school that are just starting out that really kind of just want to get involved with the creative side of pop culture?
Yeah. I don't know if they'll listen to me, but yeah, sure. I could totally say something. It's not easy out there, and it's really, really tough. And when, being an artist, what's really kind of scary is that you put a lot of yourself, a lot of investment within your vision or your expression, up. You just throw up on the table. You make it public, and there's a lot of risk and criticism, but at the same time, there's a lot of confidence building through that.
Seems like you have to have a really thick skin as a up and comer. You
do, and there's ways to build that, But the one thing that I always ask, in return when people ask me, "Hey, what do you think? Well, how do I get into it?" I was like, "How do you handle criticism?
Mm-hmm.
Can you handle criticism and find the benefit in it instead of kind of just focused on the negative or taking it as a negative or condescending gesture or jab?" That's one thing that everyone in this game has to work on. And for me personally, what's kind of helped me build that up was kind of the 20 years that I kind of invested in working in the commercial design agency field.
Yeah.
I put my kind of fine art on the back burner just to learn more about advertising and what builds a brand and what is it that attracts us as consumers to follow that brand.
Yeah. Well, sure. I mean, I'm sure you do in that time. You're like, every project comes up and you're pitching like, "Hey, here's 7 ideas," and they go, "Well, we like half of this idea, and the rest we're not interested in." You're like, "But I spent all this time."
Oh yeah, dude. You know what? Let me tell you, man. Every agency has its own kind of strategy and code of ethics of how they pre-plan their presentation.
Yeah.
There's agencies that rely heavily on visual graphics. There's others that basically rely on no graphics and it's just white paper and written idea statements.
Yeah.
Those are the ones that really were kind of challenging for me because being a visual artist and designer, I was spending oodles and oodles of time building up the composition and in Photoshop, giving it all this love and glares and highlights and glints and textures. And they were like, what's the idea for the brand? What's the overall message?
Right.
It looks great, but what's the overall message? And I'm like, oh, well, we leave that to the writers. We'll just stick something on there, Hey,
Yeah.
I'm more junior mints, whatever,
Junior, never have enough junior mints.
Ah,
So basically, take criticism as a building tool to do better or to go further.
yeah, and second would be, it's kind of tough out there trying to find your dream job or, trying to get to X marks the spot where you're able to be a full-time illustrator or artist or designer. The internet's a great benefit right now with technology and kind of, shrinking kind of the world, in a point where networks and communities can be a benefit
Yeah.
thing. But that's part of what I tell them. I go, hey, how do you deal with criticism, and and what I would recommend is take a year out and work at a small design boutique or an ad agency, and figure out their culture. It's total art of war strategy.
Yeah.
It's like, go infiltrate the enemy's base and figure out how they do conduct their culture,
Yeah.
their language, and then, use it later on for yourself.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for talking to us today. I know you're super
We're
busy.
done?
I know, dude. I could talk all day. But I know you're super busy. You're heading up to San Francisco for a big thing with Adobe, which I can't wait to watch on live stream. But thank you for your time. Anything you want to plug before we go? Twitter page? Behance?
You know what, man? My Twitter page is hurt. But I'm not going to lie, dude. You know me, I hate lying. My Twitter page is all right. You know what? I don't know. Keep your eyes out. I think a lot more interesting stuff coming down the pipeline. As far as me as an artist and individual, and also me as part of the Posse. There's some really cool things, and right now I could totally feel you kicking me under the virtual table. Going shut up. But there's a lot to look out for, and I think that the more that we do it as a group, and the more that we're able to have fun with it,
Yeah.
and push the bounds of what's expected, of what's already been
Sure.
established out there.
Sure.
I think that's how we encourage and build upon this culture. This culture right here, this poster art culture, man. I am really in love with it. I see that it's a culture all on itself that's been building up, and now it's got enough legs to really start running and standing firmly proud.
It is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun.
It is.
Okay, brother. Well, thank you very much. Have a great day.
Hey.
What?
I got to get you a new cap. That's all I
Oh,
got to say.
you mean my World Championship Patriots hat? That
Oh, is that what it is? I thought it was a guy just squatting and leaving a steamer for you, but it's okay.
How do we delete this? Take it easy, yo.
Cases, brother.